What's your name?
What's your name?
What's my name?
What's the name of our podcast? Wait.
Nameless and unfamous.
Yes. Back at it. Good to see you, Rojo. Name is Unfamous.
Technical
is the pod.
difficulties.
Super technical difficulties, bro.
I think this will be the last time we get this guest on the pod with us.
I don't know. I think Sklar might be one of our most used guests that we've had through the entire duration of Nameless.
Well,
and
if you think about it,
Unfamous.
before we started Tapped In, he was the first Tapped In interview.
He was he originally started the whole thing. So welcome to the podcast, everybody. NAU podcast _podcast, Twitter and Instagram. Hit us up. Those are the only two things that we like to use. Thanks to everybody that downloaded, man. It's been a while since we put it together a new episode because we like to take our time and we really do plan stuff out.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
in our favor all the time.
We're late a lot of times, and shout out to everybody that has always sent us messages on our IG. We've been staying on top of it. Twitter, we haven't received a lot of. Well, actually, we did receive some hate mail. We'll get into hate mail in another episode. We received 2 hate mails, and that's at namelessandunnfamous@gmail.com. We're not going to do that today though because there's something a little more serious that we want to talk about. I know we do a lot of
comedy and entertainment.
Yeah, comedy, entertainment, sports.
We shoot the shit.
Yeah, right? That we do that. But a guest with us, we're just going to bring him right in. Eric Sklar is a technical producer at a very popular station here in Los Angeles, and we've used him many times before. He's done a ton of things, and we just want to welcome him to the show right now. And welcome to the show, Eric. What's going on, brother?
Thanks, guys. I also might be your number one listener because I've listened to every single.
We appreciate you very much, man.
Thanks so much, man. Sometimes in life, things happen, and Sklar is very in tune or in touch with what's going on in Israel and Gaza between the Palestinians and Jewish people because of the attacks
I'll
on October 7th.
First, it's not with the Palestinian people. It's against
Sorry.
Hamas.
Hamas.
Yeah, let's get that.
Right.
Yeah, we got, and
separate.
that's kind of the situation right now, and that's why I felt like it was important to reach out to Sklar and kind of get his perspective on it, being that he is a devout Jew, and with us, we're obviously it's a complex situation and a history that goes way back in time with the whole conflict with Israel, the Israelis and Palestine. And for us on the outside, we just know from what we're seeing and what we've been told. And honestly, I've never really understood the conflict between Palestine and Israel until I actually started listening to some documentaries when this whole thing happened on October 7th. Damn, Hamas taking away my day. October 7th is my birthday, so
that sucks.
I don't mean to be rude that way, but I mean,
well, Tupac took my birthday away.
Tupac
but
did take his birthday,
so that's the day Tupac died.
But all jokes aside, I just I had to now take a deep dive into the history and the conflict and the issues and what transpired
for sure
to them having so much. Should I say hatred? I mean, I guess on one side it's hatred.
Yeah, no, the Hamas. Okay,
but on one side it's hatred. I mean, if you wanna go back through history since the creation of Israel in 1948, there have been numerous 2-state solutions where one would be Israel, one would be Palestine, and Israel has accepted all of these 2-state solutions.
When it started, from what I've learned and the things that have been told to me by other people, I was like, okay, well, why is Israel trying to dictate the way Palestinians are living, this and that? So that was only getting one perspective of it, right? So I was like, you know what? I got to really pay attention to see and go on my own little adventure of like researching and understanding the history. So that's what I did. And as I got to
who said that Israel was controlling how Palestinians
it's just been multiple people that are more of like on the liberal side, so to speak. that have said this, like Israel basically controls Palestine. How is it that they can be able to control their water, this and this and that?
How does Israel control Palestine?
That's why I did
the West Bank if Israelis aren't allowed to go in those areas.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I did my deep dive.
Do you ever think like the guy that what's his name, Yahya, one of the commanders there, that
Yahya
Sinwar, like I know he's a radical and
the leader of Hamas.
Yeah, and he's one of the extremists that's one of the top leaders. Why do you think Israel negotiated years ago to let that man go, knowing that he would be the eventual focal point?
Well, he wasn't at the position he was at when he was released.
Right. But
he worked his way up.
I mean, I watched a small documentary on him. Because the story is so big, Israel Hamas war it's so large, and you're on top of it. And throw out your Instagram because you do put a lot of posts out there, and I'm gonna ask you later on too. Go ahead. Say it again.
At the Duke of Sports.
At the Duke of Sports, hit him up. He does put a lot of posts out there that are showing you a lot of stuff that's truthful that Israel is trying to do, and meanwhile Hamas is tearing this down. And ripping apart the Israeli people, and unfortunately the Palestinians are in the way, and they're cowards. And this guy, that we're talking about is one of the yeah.
So I decided to put this little timeline together. Obviously what we know as to what happened on October 7th, which was some 3,000 Hamas terrorists burst into Israel. Under cover of heavy rocket fire, attacking army bases and invading communities at a music festival, and some 1,200 people, most of the civilians were brutally slaughtered in the unprecedented assault, and another 240 people were taken hostage. Now, I remember seeing a video of this young girl that was at that rave or festival, and they basically had her in the back of the truck naked.
Mm-hmm. That video was everywhere.
Her limbs were
she was
broken.
A German Israeli civilian.
Yeah. So that to me, I was like, that's when I really got more into like, okay, I really want to take a deep dive into this whole situation because I gotta get a better understanding. I've only been hearing one side of things, and I'm not that type of person that's just gonna go with that one side. I gotta hear both sides. So that's what I was.
Just to also put it in perspective, that music festival. A friend of mine's wife's cousin was killed at that festival.
No way. And you know what, man? And honestly, and you know that I've been going. I mean, everybody, you guys all know that I've been a long time raver, and those festivals are probably one of the most peaceful things you can go to. People are definitely having a good time drinking, and meditating, and like that's kind of what those festivals
meditating
are.
on shrooms.
Probably on shrooms or acid, yeah, for sure. But what the fuck? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's cool. Like whatever you're
I'm
into.
only joking
I know,
like
but whatever you're into. But the thing is, they were still assembling in a peaceful way. They're at a festival.
The thing is that there were so many other people from different countries that were at that festival,
which is common in those type of festivals.
Unfortunately, were in that situation and you got these dudes from Hamas killing them all. I mean, there was some people that were taking. There was video of Hamas dudes on motorcycles taking away some of these people, and they're like just in fear for their life. I was like, damn, this is crazy.
There's video of Hamas at the music festival going to where the bathrooms were set up, like the porta potties. All the doors were closed. Nobody knows who's in there, and they're just firing on the porta potties with not knowing who's in there, don't care who's in there.
It's just senseless, right? Like, I mean...
And to another thing to put in perspective, October 7th is the deadliest day for Jews. Like the amount of Jews killed
since the
was
Holocaust,
the most that have been killed in one day since the Holocaust.
Yep.
Wow.
6 million Jews were killed, and the Holocaust wasn't just 6 million Jews. It was 11 million people total that were killed by the Nazis during World War II, and it included 6 million Jews and 5 million others in terms of minorities like blacks, LGBTQ, mentally and physically handicapped, gypsies, anybody that didn't fit the Aryan race category that the Nazis were trying to establish, they were all killed along with the Jews.
And I'm glad that you brought up, the blacks and LGBTQ, which we'll get onto a little later. Because I do want to touch on that specifically, because that's kind of what has led me to kind of really realize that a lot of these groups out there that we have here in the States really don't know the history. They don't really want to do their research and do their homework.
They want to push their agenda forward.
And that's why I want to touch on that a little later. We got clips for that. Hopefully we can play them. We have no more technical difficulties. But just to, just to get the Hamas reasoning behind the attack, Mohammed Deif, I may be butchering his name, but I really don't care. The head of Hamas military wing, the Qassam Brigade, said in a recorded message on the first day of the 2023 Israel-Hamas war that it was in response to what he called the desecration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly. And Israel killing and wounding hundreds of Palestinians in 2023. So that was their reasoning towards their invasion into Israel.
Do you think these guys are just, honestly, let's look at it. Israel is a powerful country, and they are up there in as far as like, if you look at like GDP and you look at like a scale of
it's the only democracy in the Middle East.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then you look at it at a scale of like world powers, right? And democratically and as far as like capital and stuff like that, they're a superpower. They're up there. They're with the U.S. They're with the China. They're with the Russias. That type of thing, right?
I don't know if I would put them up that high, but I mean, they're definitely high up there because they're allies with the United States.
Right. But do you think that Hamas, because they're so small time, they're making them.
Hamas isn't small time though, Russ. Hamas gets funding from
by Iran.
And so
yeah. But I just see these guys tipping around on bikes and you saw in these Toyotas and shit, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, Israel has you look at the war or the equipment that Israel has compared to what Hamas has. I mean, there's no comparison.
Hamas has rockets and drones and all of that, and they get all that funding from Iran, Russ.
And the $6 billion that Biden gave to Iran recently to basically fund Hamas's war.
I just see these guys as not what Iran. Okay, Iran is the source of it. We know that, right?
Yeah, Hamas is the foot soldiers.
It's just so bad though. Maybe because I keep hearing like the main leader of Qatar, or I'm sorry, the main leader lives in Qatar or Qatar.
Yeah, what does that tell you? He doesn't care about his own people.
No, he doesn't.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. Like, so that's small time. Like, it's not like that. Yeah.
How is that small? How is that small time if Yahya Sinwar's net worth is $5 billion, Russ?
Well, yeah, that is a lot of money. But you're going back to Iran. I mean,
that's money. That's money that came from humanitarian aid that should have gone to the Palestinian civilians that Hamas uses as human shields.
It's just
Hamas
sad.
Hamas digs up the water pipes that are supposed to be giving water to all of the innocent Palestinians and turns those water pipes into rockets that they shoot at innocent Israeli civilians.
Interesting.
Wow. Yeah, I see. There's so much to it's so complex.
It's very complex.
That's why Israel has to provide a percentage of Gaza's water.
Interesting. So these are some of the things that aren't explained. Because they say is like, they shut off the water, they shut off the power, and then they paint.
Yeah, they shut off. Israel shut off their percentage of the water and power and electricity and all of that. But how do they have the electricity and fuel and power to keep continuously shooting rockets 57 plus days into this war? How do they have the internet service to post these videos of innocent Gazan civilians after a rocket attack? How do they have the internet and video power to post these videos of the hostages that have been released over the last 7 days? Yet they're claiming there's no electricity, no power, no water, no food. Israel's been a 7-day ceasefire. Israel let in 200 trucks a day of aid.
What are your thoughts on how Prime Minister Netanyahu is handling it?
I mean, Netanyahu's a very controversial figure. This is his second time as prime minister. His first time as prime minister ended in a corruption scandal that has continued on into his second time as being prime minister. But at the end of the day, a lot of the people that are against Netanyahu since the war has started have sided with him in the terms of the fact that he is trying to do what he can to defend and protect Israel's right to exist and get the hostages home and dismantle Hamas, because that's the end goal. Get the hostages home, dismantle Hamas so they don't exist anymore, and so the Palestinians can live in peace.
Speaking of... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I mean, Hamas took power in Gaza in 2007. They were elected as the leaders through an election, and then once they won their election, they killed their opponents and have not held an election since.
That's true. That I've read upon. Yeah, I've read on that where it's like it's been Hamas.
Israel left.
That's a dictatorship, right? I mean, essentially.
Israel left Gaza and forcibly removed thousands of Jews from Gaza in 2005 and said, "Here is Gaza to the Palestinians. This is yours. Figure out how to run it." The Palestinian Authority held elections. Hamas wins. From 2005 to 2007, Hamas goes on and kills all of their opponents to take power in the Gaza Strip, and they've been running it ever since.
Do you think there's any end in sight, like, or what, as far as Hamas?
The only end in sight is Hamas being dismantled and the hostages coming home.
What do you?
That's the only way there's an end in sight.
And I agree. What is your perspective on when, you got, MSM out there and everybody else saying like, well, why is it that Israel is just continuously bombing, the northern Gaza Strip when that's the majority of the population that they have there, and you got women and children dying. I mean, we see all these clips. Of seeing innocent civilians dying because of these air raids that Israel is doing, and I understand what must be done, and the question I guess is there any other way to attack Hamas?
Israel, I will say this: Israel equivocally does not take innocent civilian deaths lightly. They do everything in their power to try and mitigate and avoid having civilian casualties as much as possible. But when you're dealing with a terrorist organization like Hamas, and Hamas using innocent civilians as human shields, literally there's been a lot of talk about the Al-Shifa hospital and UN-run schools. The Israel Defense Forces have found tunnels and rocket weapon storages in schools,
I did see
hospitals, mosques.
I did see some video on that.
Like civilian residential areas are used as Hamas outposts, and as soon as Hamas uses those areas as their outposts, they become legitimate targets in war.
Right.
And unfortunately, these civilians are told, if you leave, we will kill you by Hamas. So it's a lose-lose situation, unfortunately, for these innocent civilians, because they're under the terror reign of Hamas, who says, we will kill you if you leave. But then Israel isn't trying to target those Hamas people that are hiding in amongst these innocent civilians.
I did see video, as you were saying, like where the underneath hospital bunkers, where they have like headquarters stuff, which is just it's jacked up, because they know that if they have a base like that, they're not going to attack it. But Israel pretty much has their back against the wall. Like, we have no other choice, because we know most of your operational calls are coming out of here. This is like an HQ, but you guys have a hospital, trying to take of civilians.
Israel's had to call off plenty of strikes because they see that there are too many civilians in the area.
Isn't that a sign of their weakness, though? Like, because
a sign of
Hamas's
No,
weakness. Hamas's
Oh
weakness.
yes,
Because
I was going to say I think it's a sign of Israel's strength.
because for sure, but in war games, and that's what's happening right now. In let's say the U.S. and we have our bases. We have camp whatever, right? And then
Right.
I mean, all these countries know where we're at. They know where that we have Camp Pendleton, like for instance, for us, our
Right.
down the way on the freeway here. They know that is a base. We don't have a hospital there. I mean, we have first, they have medics and all that stuff there, but, we're not putting.
That's a military base,
Right, but
you
like
got military
Hamas doesn't
bases
have that, right? They don't have like a set base. Like this is where
No,
most
they use the
tunnel system.
Use the schools okay. So I know like probably 15 people right now in the IDF that are serving. I know multiple people that have been inside Gaza since the war started. My friend told me that he and his unit literally had to go to a school that if you were to look on the outside, it looks like an elementary school would look. And as soon as you open the door and go through the halls, it is a training facility.
It's
like a military training facility.
I don't get how like we always hear about covert operations, and I know that Israel has an elite force outside of just the IDF. They have kind of the same as like we have like Navy SEALs, and they have their own version.
They have special forces units in the IDF. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a solution to just go and just take out the leaders? And I know that's a difficult task. I'm not saying
I think that they're I'm pretty sure that Israel's like CIA.
Right. Wouldn't that be the ideal solution to say, you know what? We don't care where you're at. I don't care if you're living in Qatar or if you're living in Dubai or if you're living whatever. Let's send in special forces, same as the U.S. has done to a ton of people through our existence, and just let's take these guys out. And I mean, they're the source of it. They're the funding. They're the shot callers. Let's just we got to finish it up. Isn't that the best way to get it? And I know that's a difficult task. Instead of doing multiple bombings and I get the strategic stuff of that.
Cutting off the head of the snake.
Right.
Is definitely a goal in this, but
how do you get to them?
One, how do you get to them? And I'm sure they're working on finding them throughout the world, wherever they are, because most of them do not live in Gaza.
And most of these guys are not parading around like they used to parade around during peace times.
No, they're definitely hiding out, trying to stay alive. But two, once you cut off that head, the heads of the snake, you got to realize that if there's still people under those people are going to want to take those spots, and you really just have to get the whole snake, which is all of Hamas.
Yeah,
and then you move on to dealing with Iran when the time comes, if they ever decide to actually do the fighting themselves and not have hired guns like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis in Yemen and all the other terrorist organizations that Iran supports.
It's complicated, man.
Yeah, I just want to give you a quick breakdown of what Israel said on Friday. It said that 136 hostages remain in Gaza. They include 119 men and 17 women and children, according to the military spokesperson Daniel Hagari. Roughly 10 of the hostages are 75 and older, the Prime Minister's office said on Friday. The vast majority are Israeli, while 11 are foreign nationals, including 8 from Thailand, 1 from Nepal and Tanzania each, and 1 French Mexican. And then there it says Saleh al-Aruri, I'm sorry if I butchered that, the deputy head of Hamas's political bureau, says that the captive prisoner swap talks are finished until the onslaught ends. French President Emmanuel Macron arrives in Doha calling for stepped-up efforts to reach a lasting ceasefire as Israeli pulls its Mossad negotiators from Qatar.
Mossad is the Israeli CIA, basically.
That's Mossad.
Those are the guys that are going after the heads of Hamas.
Now, the other things that have transpired after after the attacks and when the conflict occurred where Israel started, attacking Hamas. The unfortunate thing is that civilians were in the middle of it because of the fact that Hamas does hide underneath these civilians. In other words, they hide under their own people. They use them as shields to be able to protect themselves.
Cowards.
We had a month ago or 2 months ago, a BLM post a picture of Hamas terrorists paragliding, which they did apologize, but they still said, "We stand with Palestine and the people who will do what they must to live free." To me,
and doing what they must to live free in this instance means rape, murder, kill, behead, like literally innocent women, babies,
right,
elderly, men, children. Like you said, some of the hostages are 75
and
older. Those people lived through the Holocaust. Hamas literally kidnapped
75.
He's right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Hamas literally kidnapped Holocaust survivors and then carried out the most brutal attack on Jews since the Holocaust. That is how in the head these people are. They do not care.
You could say this, it's for religion, right? But their beliefs in religion.
Well,
their beliefs in religion.
Yes. Partially, yes. Yes, I would say radical Islam. There is a movement where they are trying to expand and branch out throughout the world and spread. They want
Sharia law as well.
The religion of the world. Yeah. They want Islam to be the religion of the world. That is what radical Islam's goal is, and that's part of what Hamas's goal is. Also, there is the land aspect in terms of Palestine versus Israel. Mm-hmm. What is Palestinian land? What is Israeli land? And basically, when Israel was created in 1948, before it was called Israel, it was called the British Mandate of Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the
British pulled out,
right,
in 1948,
yes.
and
left and said we're good.
After the Holocaust, the Jews needed somewhere to go, and based off of biblical, like historical facts, the British said, "Okay, this is your land. Here is your land." The British Mandate of Palestine.
Wow.
And the creation of Israel the state of Israel was created with that land. I'm going to send you guys a video that really breaks down a good chronological order of how the land has been divided pre-1948 and post-1948.
Because you have you also have the Oslo Accords, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then you got the West Bank, and then of course the Gaza Strip.
Right.
So it's breakdowns, and which I'm still trying to. It's still so complex because you have three sections of I'm still trying to understand all that. The Oslo Accords.
Okay, so when I went to Israel in 2015, it was explained to me like this: there's Area A, Area B, and Area C. Israel is, let's say, Area A. The West Bank is Area B, and Gaza is Area C.
B and
Israel, C. So hold on. Israel, Area A, Arabs and Israelis can go to. Area B, the West Bank, there are certain parts where only Arabs can go, and there are only certain parts where only Israelis can go. In C, in Gaza, there are no Israelis allowed. But Gazans can have work visas and come into Israel and work and provide for their families and go back to Gaza. Literally, some people that committed the attacks on October 7th were literally people that had work visas that would come into Israel and make money for their families and provide for their families and go back to Gaza. They know this because they had, they found when the IDF finally came in and started defending and doing what they needed to do to fend off Hamas, they found work visas on some of these dead people's persons. And it's like, that's how Israel thinks that they found out so much about the land, is these people with work visas were essentially spies.
Wow.
What do you?
Hold that thought, guys. We're gonna take a break real quick. Hanging out with us on Tapped In right here. Famous and Unfamous is the podcast. Sometimes you gotta get a little serious. Golden Mike winner Eric Sklar is with us. Hey man, you got that's man. That's a massive credential in broadcasting, and we're kind of going over the Israeli Hamas conflict war. Because sometimes we want to get into some events and protests that are going on
here in the U.S.
But we want to take a quick break because we're gonna go pay the bills real quick, and then we're gonna come on back. Right? I mean, kind of right. I mean, you listen, Sklar. You know we plug in all the stuff right there. You know how Spreaker does it. They don't play, man. They make sure they get their multiple ads in, and we're perfectly fine with that because they do host Nameless and Unfamous. Check us out on Instagram at Nameless or at NAU_podcast, also on Twitter, and we're gonna get more into the events and protests that are occurring right now in regards to Israel and Hamas.
Welcome back, Sklar. After we just finally paid the bills, and one of the things that I wanted to touch on are the current events and protests that have gone on and continue to go on.
Right.
Specifically here in the U.S. because we are Americans here, and obviously, we exercise our First Amendment. Everybody has a right to have their opinions. Everybody has a right to freedom of speech. However, with that being said, I feel like there's been quite a shit show, for lack of a better word, I guess I should say, but it's been quite a shit show, seeing everything that has transpired ever since that October 7 attack. And I don't know if you guys like this analogy or not, but the way I see it is, let's just say, for example, Russ and I, for the most part, have been okay as far as our conflict. We haven't had no battles or anything. He's my neighbor. And then
we have conflict.
Out of nowhere, we have conflict. And then out of nowhere, he decides to barge into my home and basically hurt my family. Now, on my end, I'm going after him specifically. And while I'm going after him, he's cowarding behind his family. I'm hurting his family. And you have outside people coming in saying, hey, what are you doing attacking him? You're wrong for this. You're wrong for that. You're wrong. You're such a, you're addicted. You're doing this. You're doing that. And that's kind of, and like I said, I know may not be the best analogy, but it's the best analogy that I can come up with as far as like how people are perceiving it here, especially college students who are probably not doing their damn homework and are being influenced by these stupid liberal, Marxist professors who are saying Israel is bad and they're just attacking, these innocent civilians. Yeah. And they're not realizing go ahead.
They consider Israel like a white settler colonizer.
Yeah, colonizers. Oh my God, I've been seeing that word everywhere.
They group that in, and it's like one, like not all Jews come from Eastern European descent.
Yeah.
There's over 800,000, almost 1 million Mizrahi Jews, which come from the Middle East, Northern Africa, that entire area of the world. And it's like in Judaism, we have a breakdown of basically Ashkenazis and Sephardics, to where Ashkenazis are from Eastern European countries, and Sephardics, they're from the Middle East, Iran, Northern Africa, Morocco, those areas. And so everyone just lumps the Jews in with these white settler.
Why do you think there's so much
type label
hatred and disregard for Jewish people? And because it's been like that for
Russ, I wish I knew the answer to that question, or else Israel and the Jewish people would not have to defend themselves since the dawn of time.
Yeah, that's true. But do you think it's because they get along with so many people, like as far as the democracy in like other countries, like the U.S. And I know a lot of people are always saying like, oh, well,
probably that
people
probably
frown
in
on
modern
that.
times, that probably in modern times has a lot to do with a lot of the Middle Eastern world not having a liking for Israel because they're
allies with us.
Well, the other thing I would say too, going back to what I mentioned earlier, is that a lot of these college students aren't actually picking up a book. They're not really doing their own homework.
They see an influencer.
They see the influencer. Yeah,
cute graphic
so
on
bad.
Instagram and think it's gospel.
Here's a big example.
Bad.
Here's a big example of why social media and these influencers are, such a shit show, that a lot of these younger Gen Zers, especially the college students right now, aren't doing their homework, because now, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but people have read Osama bin Laden's letter, and it's given them an eye opener now.
I know.
All of a sudden it's like now they're siding with him in some respect. I'm like,
No.
what? Wait, what?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. They're only going by what they're hearing, not by what they're actually researching. And yet they're telling me, the typical, middle class person who's trying to just, understand this, is
Right.
No, Israelis are the bad people. They're colonizers.
Nah.
They're killing Palestinian civilians.
One big thing that a lot of these people are saying that Israel is the bad guy for is they call Israel an apartheid state. How can Israel be an apartheid state when Arab Israelis have their own political party? They have members in the government that hold political positions. Arabs have every right to vote just like any Israeli Jew does. How can they? I mean, they can own property. They can have businesses. They literally live a free life in Israel. How is Israel an apartheid state when all of that can happen?
And it goes back to the stupidity of them not understanding the whole history and everything that's actually going on.
Research. Women in Israel have every right that a man does. LGBTQ can live freely in Israel.
Yeah, Tel Aviv,
Israel has
right?
the largest Tel Aviv has the largest gay population in the entire Middle East. You know why? It's the only country that allows it.
I find it weird though too that the radical Muslims believe like gays should be cast out and stoned, and that whole mindset. And then you hear stories that they have like these weird parties and these weird orgy things, or about young men and like their kind of their own tendencies towards same sex. But I don't understand. Huh? I don't get like I guess that's the whole radical terrorism mindset that I mean I don't know, Hamas we're talking mostly about, but they have like there's this rumors that they have parties and then they have young boys there, and it's like, wait a minute, like I thought you guys were totally against all that, and now you're kind of condoning it behind your own.
It's a power dynamic, I'm guessing. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm guessing it's a power dynamic.
It's just bizarre. And most of the times when people bring it up, it's not like it's like someone's just making it up. It had it happen at one time somewhere, that they're doing these types of things, which is gross. But
so, Sklar, you being an American and Jewish living here, seeing these marches that have gone on in the U.S., especially here in L.A. I don't know if you saw the last one where it was such a huge march. I think it was a few days before Thanksgiving.
I've seen them all.
Yeah. What goes through your head? How does that, what goes inside of you when you see these things, especially when it's all pro-Palestine and all they're doing is really throwing a lot of hatred towards Jews?
This is probably the scariest time in my life where I've actually felt scared to be a Jew.
Have you encountered anything specifically like on your end? Sorry to interrupt you on that.
Oh, I mean, I've gotten so many hate messages and comments on social media.
No way.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. My DMs are flooded.
Without giving us like full details, like what are some things that have been
you Zionist pig, I hope you die along with all your family in Israel. Oh, I've gotten some vile shit, guys.
Speaking of the social media stuff, though, real quick, you know that guy? I don't know if you follow him. His name is and back to like look at Sean King.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean,
is this a guy who says he's black, but he's actually like white, or he's half white, half black?
He's a social media activist.
Yeah.
None of his facts right, and he literally tried to like associate himself with a family that had like a family member taken hostage, and the family was like, no, you have nothing to do with us.
Because he posts some wild stuff.
Oh yeah, Sean. I think if I'm correct, if I'm not mistaken, he wears glasses, right? And he's kind of a very light complected dude. Yeah, that guy's a total. That guy is a piece of.
He's one of the most misinformed social media activists.
Like, because we're looking at his IG.
A lot of these people will, a lot of these people will take his Instagram as gospel of what's actually happening on the ground in these places, and he's got no clue what's going on.
And isn't he like just right here in the U.S., right?
He's all about the money, guys.
Yeah,
he's all about the money. That's how he makes his money.
The same way that he uses victims that have nothing to do with him is the same thing that BLM has done and made their money off of black victims who, unfortunately have passed away from, some of the police brutalities that have gone on, and BLM capitalized on that. But nobody wants to see that, and God forbid we say that out loud. Well, I'm saying it out loud because it's the truth. The same thing with Sean King.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to ask you that for a minute too.
I think the worst part, and I didn't know about this, but obviously, dude, back in the 1960s when Martin Luther King was marching for civil rights, there were Jews who were also
Abraham Joshua Heschel and Martin Luther King marched arm in arm together.
Jewish men.
Arm together. The Jews, I went through this a couple of years ago. Really when all of the George Floyd stuff was happening. And you remember when Deshaun Jackson and a few of the athletes were all speaking out against Jews in Israel and all of that. Jews and blacks have so much more in common than we don't.
Is it because of the oppression over the decades?
You have a point there.
Yes. And it's wild to me how many black people don't see that and have a hatred towards Israel and Jews. It's mind-boggling.
You think it has a lot to do right now, especially now with the social media influence, including Kanye and the things he has said in the last...
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100% Kanye's had a huge impact on the rise of anti-Semitism in the black community.
Wow. And he remember that he went off on a weird rant, like that whole thing.
I have a clip of his latest song that I want to play. I could play it a little later, but I kind of wanted to. I kind of wanted to continue with the LGBTQ also community. That.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I was saying before, being gay is illegal in Gaza. If any of these LGBTQ influencers or supporters were to go to Gaza and say, "Hey, I'm gay,"
they'd be hung
and getting killed. Yeah,
they'd be thrown off a roof, literally.
Literally, that's what happened to one guy.
I think in Iran, they hang homosexuals from these poles. They just hang them for public display.
I can't believe that public display hanging is still a thing in 2023.
Dude, there were two guys in the West Bank that were killed by a mob of Palestinians a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
and they were hung for public viewing because they were supposedly helping Israel.
One of them,
wow.
I think they also hung one of their soldiers because they found out he was gay. He was having a gay relationship with another man, and they hung him. They killed him. A Hamas soldier. For me, that's why I find it so ignorant.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me how any of these liberal people that are saying they are against Israel because all of their beliefs are legal in Israel and illegal everywhere else in the Muslim world.
Yeah, and especially like from what I hear, if you go to Tel Aviv, there's more pride flags than there is Israeli flags hanging on display, which is crazy to me. And it's like, does that letter community not realize, like, you go to Israel, you'll be fine. You go to Iran, you'll die.
To research, they don't take the time. They don't care. They see Bella Hadid, Gigi Hadid post something that is against Israel, and they think it's gospel. One of the I can't remember which one, but one of the Hadid sisters literally posted a video of two of the prisoners that Israel had to release, and she literally only posted part of the video and left out the video of them attacking an Israeli.
And then you have people ripping off flyers of Americans who were kidnapped.
I see that a lot though.
Out there, like in New York.
I'm sorry. What does ripping down a poster of a hostage,
especially a child,
free Palestine? What does it do to free Palestine?
Nothing.
What does that do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Joining us right now,
pure hatred.
Joining us right now is Eric Sklar, Golden Mike winner, technical producer for a very popular station here in LA. Nameless and Famous is the podcast. Thanks, everybody. We are doing Tapped In, and we're going over. I know we do a lot of joking around on our show, which we've done forever in our existence on all of our episodes.
5 years.
5 years, right? But sometimes, we got to dig in deep, and we got to talk about things that are happening in the world, because it does affect us, and it does affect people that we love, and we love Eric Sklar. So he's been through the whole ride with us, and we all met back at iHeart Radio Los Angeles, and worked together through the years, and have a passion for speaking out and broadcast. And he's joined us here on our podcast to talk about the Israeli and Hamas conflict. We've talked about the events that is going on with Israel and Hamas and here in the U.S., and we've also talked about some of the history that goes into it. But Rojo put together some clips and stuff, and he wants to talk about the political figures and some of the celebrities and all the stuff that's going into it now. And like we were going over, like, social media recently, we also put some clips together. Dave Chappelle, Susan Sarandon, Kanye West, which we talked about too. Let's jump into that.
You have Ilhan Omar, and then you have Rashida Tlaib, who's she's Palestinian. AOC, the squad, as they're known, that have been spewing, hatred towards Jews, which has
they hate Israel.
Yeah, which has led to Jewish students being attacked in different parts of the university, like Drexel. There was a Jewish student's dorm room door that was set on fire at the Cooper Union, New York. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators banged on the windows and doors of a library where Jewish students were held up inside. It's crazy how
a child and their mother
allowing this to
killed
happen.
In
the child in Chicago, right? That was stabbed.
Yes. A Palestinian child was killed by his neighbor.
Then there was that,
right?
There were three guys that were also killed.
Oh, in the college campus?
I believe it was in Vermont.
Vermont, I think, or Virginia.
Yeah,
one of the. It starts with a V for sure, but
yeah.
So on both sides, are just being affected either way. Like,
and then you also had the protesters that clashed into the Capitol in Washington. Back in January 6th, we called it an insurrection. Here, we're calling it, a peaceful protest.
How is a peaceful protest leaving red paint to look like blood on the gates of the White House?
Not cool.
So,
what are your thoughts, though? I mean, of like the political figures and the celebrities that are getting involved in these types of things, and speaking out against. Some of these guys are speaking out against Israel. Like, you brought up Dave Chappelle, right?
Sarandon was in a rally. Let me play some of these clips real quick, if I can just.
Here we go. Let's see what you're doing here, man.
Clark, are you there? I mean, Sklar?
Here, hold on, bro. It kicked us off.
It kicked us off, huh?
Yeah.
What happened?
It kicked us off. Wow. Hey, maybe Zoom is like, nah, man. You can't have you guys keep talking about this crap, dude. And we're like, whoa. What's wrong? We're not doing nothing that bad. Like, we're just having a little discussion here about a war that's currently taking over the whole world knows about this war. I mean, the Ukrainian thing got pushed all the way back compared now to what's really going on.
No, but
some audience members reported
Russia and Ukraine are connected to this.
Did you hear that right there?
So what?
We played a video.
I'm going to play it real quick, see if you can hear it.
Can you hear what we're going to play? Hold on.
He walked out of Dave Chappelle's show in Boston
Can you hear
last
that?
week.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can?
So I'm going to keep playing it. This is
okay.
This
So we're
is
going to play
Chappelle.
a Chappelle clip, and we want to get your thoughts about this. Go ahead.
Over comments about the Israel-Hamas war. According to the Wall Street Journal, Chappelle commented that Hamas condemned Hamas, but then blasted what he claims were Israel's war crimes in Gaza. An audience member says that it started when someone told Chappelle to shut up after he said he didn't think people should lose their jobs for supporting Palestinians. Chappelle reportedly responded by criticizing the Israeli government's decision to cut off food, water, and electricity to Gaza. He also accused Israel of killing innocent civilians. A spokesman for Chappelle told the Journal the comedian denies being in Boston that night, despite the show being listed among his dates by ticket outlets. Actress Meryl Streep, some audience.
Okay. So you heard that, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Chappelle clips about? I don't think they're clips. I think. Have you read about what Chappelle?
Yeah, I mean, I heard about it when it happened. Yeah.
I'm surprised that even Dave Chappelle, who I respect a lot, who has.
I'm not. He considers himself Muslim.
Oh, that's right.
Oh wow. Yeah,
That's right.
I've never even
You're
thought
right
about
that. I forgot which comedian said that about him. He's now considers himself Muslim.
Why do you think, man? And I love Chappelle, right? But when some of these guys get a little political and start speaking their mind on it, and going a little radical about it themselves, I'm like, you're kind of losing my interest, man.
It's hard because he's trying to do a comedy bit, but he's also trying to do a comedy bit while using facts, or at least what he thinks are facts.
That stuff should be separate, right?
But the problem is he's just not being factually accurate.
Yeah, I feel like he should kind of just keep away from it. And I feel like a lot of these celebrities, because we have other clips too that we were when we were prepping to talk to you. Well, mostly Rojo right here, producer of the pod. When he was prepping a lot of the stuff, we're like, "Yo,
I'm gonna be the one blamed for this shit show."
I'll take the technical side. I got that, but get some good stuff that we could play on this clip and then run through it. But the Chappelle one was great because it was such a big story when it came out. It was like a week after the attack, the October 7th that came out, and his it shot up quick. And then the Kanye stuff was like, man, Kanye was doing the anti-Semitic stuff prior to October 7th. And, it's always good to hear insight from you and a Jewish American who has experienced going over to, to the Holy Land and being actually in the mix with some people that are currently serving in the IDF. Do you think that there's a time that some of these people should stay out of it?
Quick, I don't mean to cut you off. One thing I want to make clear in this podcast, especially in this particular episode, I don't want people to think that we're doing a one-sided,
absolutely not,
type thing where we're just favoring Jews or Israel. We're just trying to get a better perspective of the conflict,
an understanding.
So we're always welcome. We welcome any Palestinian that would love to talk to us, and I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
And if we do get something like that, we'll bring them on the pod, and Sklar, we'll bring you right back on, provided we don't have no technical difficulties.
I think I actually do have a Palestinian friend. I think I might have a Palestinian friend. Palestinian or Pakistani? One of those. One of those.
That's a big difference. It's a big difference.
I know.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think he's Palestinian. I don't know if he said Pakistani or Palestinian. I'll find out.
Hey, you gotta let us know, bro.
I'll take the hit for that one. I don't care.
That's great.
So you
To answer Russ's question though,
Yeah.
it's hard because you want to see people of influence speak out when things are happening in the world, because that's just what we've become accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing is they just have to be very careful with their platform, because they have such a big platform, to not spread the misinformation. And when they start going down the rabbit hole spreading the misinformation, they don't either. And I don't know if this is the case because I'm not these people, but the people around them and their teams, they don't seem to check them when
they should be
talking about
more.
these situations. They need to be a lot more better informed.
Yeah.
especially black celebrities who have such a large platform and a large following. I think
especially someone like Chappelle or Kanye West.
I think so. I don't know if you heard about what happened at this high school where riot went down because they found out one of their instructors or teachers went to a pro-Israel demonstration, and when they found out, they basically started rioting inside the school. And mind you, the majority of this school's population, or the percentage of what the race that was there, wasn't white, it wasn't Jewish, wasn't Puerto Ricans or anything like that. It was black students that were rioting over this teacher.
I honestly.
So that's what I'm saying. It goes back to that influence that these powerful black celebrities have, that are influencing these young students into believing that person is a bad person for going to a demonstration that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, see, I don't know why don't they
and they
just
try to sweep it under the rug.
It's back to getting the facts right.
They tried sweeping that riot under the rug. That was the worst part about it. They were trying to sweep it under the rug, hoping nobody, caught wind of it. But there was a journalist who wrote an article on it, and now it was all over the news. And so Mayor Adams is now all up in arms. Oh, this is disgusting. We won't tolerate this. But what do you mean by not tolerate? What are you planning on doing?
Right,
so
one simple but brilliant trick.
Sorry, that was my bad.
No, you've seen a lot of stuff on that, like you mentioned before, Rojo, about what's been going on the college campuses, and a lot of the Jewish community is looking at these universities and schools, and we're asking the question, what are you doing to protect Jewish students on campus? And we haven't really heard any sort of answer. It's just still continuing to go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's sad because no matter what, we're going to allow these people to continue to, let them do their protesting without any valid information as to what they're protesting or what their protest is about. They're going based off of oppression and colonization, which again, going back to what I said earlier, the brainwashing of these professors to these students, that's all they're getting. And they're going out there and thinking that they're doing something right, when in reality, what they don't realize is that they're the LGBTQ community for years and years, they were oppressed because they couldn't really be out there how they would love to live. They don't realize that you go to any of these Muslim countries, you will have the same oppression that you're fighting for, and
that Israel would give you.
That Israel, is basically giving you. Again, you go to Tel Aviv, it's one of the most open states for you to be gay, for you to be a homosexual and live freely.
We're basing that on because there are a ton of protests going on, and we did see there are some signs that are out there that say
trans. It says trans for Palestine, and then obviously their chants are free Palestine. You can't pink wash colonialism. Queers for Palestine. already I have an issue with that letter community because of their trans agenda. And Sklar, I keep calling you Jesus. I'm sorry for that. I keep
on the show right now.
You know, don't leave us.
I know it's kind of a common thing around us. Sorry, Sklar, let's go off topic a little bit, but we get left, like me and this guy. There's something about us too, where they're like, okay, we're done with these guys, because both guys are kind of leaving us now. Like, well, one left us a long time ago now, and now the other one,
another one,
potential another one,
which is fine.
It's okay.
But for me, I've been having this issue with their trans agenda being pushed on kids, their ideology trying to be pushed on kids in the kids' schools. And now for them to act like they're doing something right and going up against Israeli Americans or Jewish Americans and basically oppressing them, and now not allowing them to be vocal and telling them like, hey, you guys are actually wrong. We're here. We've been supporting you. Our country allows you guys to live freely. They don't want to hear any of that.
Well, here's the thing. We've talked a lot about the pro-Palestinian anti-Israel protests that have been going on, because that's what's been getting the media coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys heard any media coverage about pro-Israel rallies or anything like that?
Well,
there was one demonstration which was very peaceful.
Washington.
And Washington
DC.
That was it was a pro-Israeli.
300,000 people at that. 300,000 people were at that.
Yeah, and
in DC.
I saw your Instagram.
Not a single ounce of any sort of commotion was caused at that. But at all the other protests on the other side, what do we see? Police clashes,
clashing,
calls for genocide.
Even one locally, not too far from where you live.
Yeah.
I mean, and the one in Thousand Oaks, and unfortunately a man lost his life out there during that protest. And it was peaceful up until that point.
And that guy is my friend's second cousin.
Wow. Oh my God, dude. I'm telling you right now, every single Jewish person you know knows someone who has been affected by this. Mm-hmm.
And I might be the only Jewish person you know, and I've already told you about 2 instances of how I know people that have been impacted by this.
Yeah, that's hold on, we're getting a call. Should we take that call? You don't want to take the call?
Is it Clark?
No, I think Clark's done with us for today. At least for today, he's done with us for sure. Yeah. We are missing Clark, and usually we have him part of the pod, but we had a little problem with him.
And I had a bone to pick with Clark because he didn't understand that was going to the Super Bowl, and it's like, dude, he's got a residency in Vegas. Keke Palmer and her man got in a whole fight about him dancing with Keke Palmer at his residency, and he was like, why is Usher getting the Super Bowl and he's not even been in the headlines lately? And it's like, dude, what are you talking about?
Clark's the best, dude. Like when when he's part of the show, like he brings it, man. And sometimes there's days where he's just like, nope, not today, boys, not gonna happen. It happens though. Like we totally get it. Like us too, we're relentless. Like we're constantly picking at each other. We're nitpicking with each other. Like, and then we throw him in the mix, and he's just like not doing it. But especially when it comes to like football, NFL, and Raiders,
yeah,
get out the way, dude. Even though he didn't win, do you know your team, bro? By the way.
You know your team, I know, right?
I did pretty well. That was a fun game.
That's pretty good, right? We thought about we you know what? We'll have to bring you in when something a little more less serious. Of course, we would love to bring you back because you are a huge at the Duke of Sports, right? That's your Instagram.
Yes.
At the Duke of Sports is your Instagram
and Twitter.
Yeah, and Twitter. And you're huge on sports, and we definitely want to bring you on for that. But right now, we're still talking about the Israel and Hamas conflict or war. And we're going to play you one more. We want to play you another clip because
I want to play you a clip of like, some of this young generation who think that they know what they're talking about. So I want you to get your perspective on this real quick. Let me just get to the right time frame.
Yeah, see, we're a buttoned up show over here. We not like what you.
And the education system. Do you guys think Hamas is a terrorist organization?
They are a political organization. Certain countries, such as Canada, the UK, the United States, recognize them as terrorist organizations. But I think that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
I live in New York, so do we live on stolen land here too?
Yeah, we do.
It's all a genocide that either was completed or
People look at me.
What's your favorite, like, Palestinian saying? Like, from the river to the sea, Palestine would be?
Free.
What would happen to all the Israelis?
They would use their second citizenship to whatever country they immigrated from, and they would go back.
But not everyone in Israel has second citizenship.
But everyone came from somebody that came from some heritage outside of the Middle East.
Like Yemen?
Like Yemen, yes, exactly.
So Jews could go back there?
Ethiopia, like where
All the Jews could go back to
Stop it
Ethiopia?
right there. Stop it right there. Stop it right there. My gosh.
Wait, hold on. What was the number on the video? Because you guys are looking at the video. What was the number of how many Jews live in Yemen?
It doesn't.
It didn't say on that one.
Oh, did it not get to?
It didn't get to say how many.
Actually,
oh wait, hold on,
right,
wait.
it does. Hold on.
Hold on. It does. Hold tight. You got us.
Like Yemen, yes, exactly.
So Jews could go back there?
Ethiopia, like
Okay, stop it right there. Stop it right there.
So it says Yemenite Jews by country 435,000
In
in
Israel.
Israel. In the United States, it's 80,000. United Kingdom 396. United Arab Emirates
the UAE.
42. Yeah. What's that?
So I don't even know.
Oh, Bahrain 5.
Bahrain, yeah.
And then in Yemen
1%.
1.
And we're talking in that now it goes down to
Yeah, in Yemen 1.
yeah, 1. My God.
The Jews could go back to Ethiopia.
And then
not all of the Jews can go back to one specific place.
Well, Ethiopian Jews.
Wherever they came.
Ethiopian Jews and Israelis exult as
Some people are just
airlift
gonna
is
protest
completed.
the protest, bro. That's how I look at it. We protesting just to protest. Really? Like you don't have none of your shit together as far as fact.
What's funny is off the first person who was in that clip, I knew what video you guys were playing with.
So you've seen it before.
You've seen this one, right?
Yeah, I'd seen that video
Yeah.
before.
So I mean, I still think it was good to play it because I want other people to just hear the stupidity
Yeah.
of America. And like Malcolm X said, the most dangerous person you could ever side with, and I'm paraphrasing, is the white liberal. The white liberal is the worst person you can side with.
I mean, and that was
I didn't know he said that. Wow.
long time ago too, but he was on to something obviously because we have been seeing a lot of white liberals protesting this, and it's crazy some of the stuff that they come up with. And it's like, man, that isn't it? It feels good to have so much freedom. It feels good to have so much freedom to say whatever you want, right? You ain't gonna have the same freedom in Israel out there.
I want to bring up real quick. There was a phrase that was said in that video. It was from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And the guy interviewing everybody said, well, where will the Jews go? And that's the whole thing. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is literally a call for genocide against the Jews because they want the land.
They want the whole
river to the sea, from the Jordan River on the east side of Israel to the Mediterranean Sea on the west side to be Palestine. And in Palestine, they will not allow Jews to live there, just like the entire rest of the Arab world.
And that is why Rashida Tlaib was censored.
All right, brother. Look, Sklar, we could go all day. We could do hours of this podcast, bro. But we're running out of time here. We got a couple minutes left, man. In close, take us out, man. What do you got?
Me?
Yeah.
What do I got? I mean, I feel like I've said a lot on this.
Well, you have. I meant like as far as like in total, like what do you have?
Like, what do you have to say to the people? Like, I mean, like based off of
what I have to say. What I have to say to the people is do your research, do your homework, actually talk to people that are affected by this conflict.
Right.
And don't just trust what mainstream media is putting out there. Actually do your due diligence and do your research. And when you see anti-Semitism, call it out, because
this is why
hatred.
This is why we wanted to talk to you, man, because it's an important topic, and sometimes we have to, like, you know, bring it into not everything can be about running jokes and stuff and, like, you know, doing what we like to do here on the pod. And It was one of those things that we've been talking about for weeks, and ever since it's happened, about having a chat with you. And this is an enlightening experience overall for myself, because I have learned a lot of things that I didn't know prior to. Now I'll probably go down to YouTube, IG, and TikTok rabbit holes of of everything Israel Hamas, which I've been doing up until this point. But thanks for coming on the pod, man, as we appreciate it. But I do want to bring him back on for sports stuff. We're doing that, right? Because we talked about that before, right?
Please, I'd much rather.
Right, let's right. Like, we're gonna get back to some sports stuff, right? On some other episodes.
We need some breakdowns.
Yes, man. Because I do like talking about this with you, because you have some really good insight, and it's factual, and you take your time to do the research.
We'll get back to you in a bit.
Yeah, brother. Yo, Eric Sklar with us on Nameless and Unfamous podcast. Hit him up at the Duke of Sports, and on IG. He posts a lot of great content. And also, let him know what's up. And don't put hate mail in his DM, man. It's not cool.
Yeah, that's not cool. Or his Instagram.
Yeah, you could put the hate mail in ours, though.
We'll take it.
Yeah, at NAU
We'll
_podcast, IG and Twitter. Check us out, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you podcast. Podcasting everywhere is what we like to say straight up. Nameless and Unfamous podcast. We'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Thanks.